Constance Cumbey, A Planned Deception, Staging of New Age Messiah, Chapter 2, Early New Age Centres. Quote, the New Age movement got its start in 1978 and took its name from the name of a magazine, Dr. Walter Martin, Bible Answer Man Program, fall 1983. She starts, despite Dr. Martin's ill-advised statement, which you've just read, the New Age movement certainly did not begin yesterday. Those involved, by their own admissions, have been so for many years. In The Hidden Dangers of the Rainbow, I gave a short history of the New Age movement. I lightly touched upon the activities of two pivotal New Age organisations, the Theosophical Society and Lucis Trust. Both are heavily Luciferian in origin, and much, if not most, of the modern New Age movement can be easily traced to the influence of one or both of these organisations. However, there are other early projects which continue to exude influence in both the movement and the world, for that matter. Some of them are directly traceable to theosophical antecedents. Most have had a direct and substantial influence upon academia. Unfortunately, many have impacted the Christian world as well. The World Council. New Age inter-organisation did not start with Alice Bailey or even with Helena Petrovna Blavatsky. Such activities were well in progress at the time of the American Revolution. One American general, Ethan Allen Hitchcock, was deeply involved in Rosicrucian activity. He also worked to build bridges with other occult organisations. A, quote, supreme initiate, he was a member of the Council of Three for America, the Council of Three of the French Order of Eliphas Levi, and a co-worker and co-member with Albert Pike of the Scottish Rite, Freemasons. Three more early networkers were Gutmann Weigel and Studion. These were known to other initiates as the Three. Hermetic Christian initiates, they were also members of the World Council. She's quoting from Clymer F. Swinburne, the Book of the Rosicrucian. As do modern-day New Agers, these men also refer to their efforts as the Great Work. Swinburne Clymer discusses their networking in frank detail from the same quote. Quote, while von Suchen was engaged in the Great Work in Switzerland and Holland, Nicolas Bernard, the French alchemist, Hermetic initiate and member of the World Council, was active in France. Bernard was of an entirely different type from that of the philosophic initiates, in that he was frankly and openly engaged in trying to harmonise their desires for a world confederation. For this purpose he travelled extensively and met many, if not almost all, of the initiates and even the acolytes engaged in the Great Work. Because of his activity in this direction, he became known among the brethren as the Door. And through his efforts, many entered the portals and the Confederation then forming. Close quote. Organised Christian infiltration. At the same time, the occult initiates were working on penetrating and subverting the Christian churches. Another quote from the same book. In Germany, Simon Studion, mystic alchemist, Lutheran convert, Paracelsian enthusiast and member of the World Council, was occupied in establishing the Militia Crucifera Evangelica, a Christian occult society for the purpose of attracting all of those who no longer believed in the infallibility of the Catholic Church and who were engaged in the study of mystic and occult literature. Then, as now, cooperation between the different occult schools was said to have been necessary to accomplish the religious subversion. So that was her writing. Another quote. Meanwhile, Julius Sperber had attained to full philosophic initiation, had become a co-worker with Studion in the establishment of the Militia Crucifera Evangelica, but visioning the future of the great work, engaged in the preparation of a text. Sperber was a Christian initiate, with a vision sufficiently clear to comprehend that if the about-to-be-born confederation, the Fraternitas, was to be a success and fulfill its mission, all initiates of every school would need to work in harmony with one or with the other. A new section, the Iranos Lectures and the Bollingen Foundation. As she continues, the Bollingen Foundation grew out of the 1930s work of Alice Bailey and Olga Freib Kapteyn. That's Kapteyn with a K, E-Y-N. Olga played a critical role in what academics call the Occult Revival. This revival gained its original momentum from the work of Madame Helena Petrovna Blavatsky. Olga was deeply impressed by occult-oriented academics, and she decided to start a cultural centre for them at her picturesque Lake Maggiore, Switzerland estate at Ascona. There she would gather the most brilliant minds of esotericism. She believed it would be a natural setting for exchange of occult ideas between like-minded academics. It was hardly a new setting for such activity. Ascona, Switzerland, had long been a centre of offbeat activity, where even Lenin and Trotsky sought inspiration. And then she quotes to say a new publication, William Bollingen, An Adventure in Collecting the Past, quote, "It had been an outpost of advanced thought and morality since the late 19th century. Freethinkers, nudists and vegetarians had their commune on the slopes of Mont Verita. Artists, writers, dancers, political radicals, utopians, gurus found their way to Ascona. The list included Lenin, Trotsky, Bakunin, Kropotkin, Hermann Hesse, Stefan George, Rudolf Steiner, Mary Wigman, Isadora Duncan, Hans Arp, Paul Klee, Emil Jennings, Emil Ludwig, and Erich Maria Remarque." It's kind of like Bilderberg for I don't know, avant-garde. She continues. In 1930, Olga went to the United States and sought out Alice Bailey. They jointly organised the School of Spiritual Research. Its first summer school session was held in 1930. In 1931, Alice and Foster Bailey went to Switzerland to help with the sessions. The Bailey family, 3 children included, journeyed there by ship. They stayed at that scenic Lake Maggiore location until 1933. Some of the guests, however, gave even Alice Bailey cold shudders, she's written there. Quote, "The place was overrun by German professors, and the whole tone and quality of the place altered. Some of them were most undesirable, and the teaching given shifted from a relatively high spiritual plane to that of academic philosophy and a spurious esotericism. It is possible," close quote, "it is possible that Foster had a deeper understanding of the plan than even wife Alice. Alice Bailey's personal writings do not sound particularly bigoted or anti-Semitic, but when she allows the Tibetan master D.K. to write through her, like channeling, she does. It is probable that in this instance Alice was truthful. She was probably genuinely repulsed by the German qualities she found there during those crucial pre-war years. Husband Foster appeared to be a little less naive. Quote, another approved hierarchical project is the uniting of the nations of Europe in one cooperating peaceful community. One attempt was to begin by uniting the peoples living in the Rhine River Valley, using that river as a binding factor. It was an attempt by a disciple, but did not work. Now another attempt is in full swing, namely the six-nation European Common Market, which became the European Union. Close quotes. Even though uneasy over some of the clientele, Alice Bailey noted the importance of their Ascona work to the plan. Quote, the work done in Ascona for 3 years had brought a number of people of different nationalities into the school, referring to the Lucis Trust's arcane school. And these, along with others who had already joined the school through reading the books, had produced a nucleus in many countries in Europe on which we could build the future of the work. That's from Alice Bailey's unfinished autobiography. She continues. Alice perceptively noted the, quote, academic philosophy, unquote, orientation at these Iranos conferences. As distasteful as it was to her, it probably was decreed by the masters to speed the progress of the plan by making it academically respectable. Among the many occult topics intellectualized and made respectable at the Iranos lectures were the Great Mother, I Ching, yoga, and number symbolism. As James Webb observed, the Iranos conferences are a compendium of all the elements of the Occult Revival. And that's from a book called James Webb, called The Occult Establishment. She continues, both Alice Ann Bailey and Olga Froabe Captain showed missionary-like zeal to their cause. Alice Bailey gave freely of her time. Olga Captain sacrificed nearly all of her money. Given their ironclad dedication, it is not surprising that significant breakthroughs should have occurred. And the breakthroughs did come, for it was at Ascona that the primary task of making occultism respectable through translating it back from, quote, hocus pocus to academic scholarship occurred. More significant still was the fact that this happened simultaneously with occult penetration of political thought and the rise of Hitler. Once professional academia became fertile ground for occultism, other fields such as mental health and education easily followed. Maria Montessori had views of, quote, super children, very similar to those of Hitler's supermen. Carl Jung attained extreme prominence in both mental health and religion. Mircea Eliade, a former ashram resident, went on to dominate comparative religion scholarship. All these and many more were important precursors for shaping the forthcoming leadership of the New Age. Just as Olga Captain's personal estate was dwindling, she received generous financial support which enabled her to continue. Paul and Mary Mellon, Pittsburgh millionaires, were her financial angels. As a near worshipper of Carl Jung, Mary Mellon wished to help Olga because that was where his work was centered. Young was himself a first-rate occult initiate. He was influenced by sources ranging from Swedenborg to spirit guides. Olga Kapteyn's first occult contacts were with the Theosophical Society. She later added to this Carl Jung's psychology and archetypal theory. Others coming there eventually were Kumaraswamy, Mircea Eliade, D.T. Suzuki, Joseph Campbell, John Barrett, Joland Jacobi, Louis Massignon, and T.S. Eliot. Mircea Eliade proudly occupied Alice Bailey's former bedroom at the Iranos lecture site. Sadly, Mircea Eliade appears to be respected. His occult biases are seldom called into question, even among evangelicals. I was startled when Brooke Alexander, Spiritual Counterfeits project director, quoted his Bollingen book to distinguish between authentic and inauthentic shamanism. Yet, how many of those so quoting include Brooke Alexander, himself an authority on cults, really know who he is and what Bollingen was? During World War II, the United States government pressured the Mellons to discontinue their support of Bollingen and the Iranos lectures. The government maintained that such support violated the Trading with the Enemy Act. While William Maguire maintains the influence of both Carl Jung and Olga Froabe Kapteyn of such attitudes, other scholars such as James Webb believe with some justification that there were not Nazi influences upon the centre, so she's kind of making this connection between the New Age movement and the Nazis. At any rate, it is difficult to see how those knowledgeable in the occult could not immediately see that they and Hitler had the same beliefs. At any rate, the 40s and the 1950s saw public debate rage over the Bollingen Foundation and its alleged Nazi ties. Ironically, Norman Cousins and his Saturday Review asked Congress to investigate it. Has the movement changed? Or has Norman Cousins, like so many others, succumbed to the mysticism which has turned so many into full-blown initiates? It was long rumoured that Carl Jung had solid Nazi connections. Maguire's history of Bollingen is itself a publication of the Foundation. Therefore, it would be expected that general innocence would be maintained, and it is. But even at that, interesting clues are given. Quote, Jung's unavoidable contacts with the bureaucracy in Berlin exposed him to the charge of pro-Nazi sympathies. The matter has continued to be controversial. In the same summer, Jung was interviewed on Radio Berlin by a German neurologist partial to the regime. Jung's responses to leading questions give an impression of tolerance, if not approval, of events in Germany, or they might be adjudged somewhere between tactful and ambiguous. Close quotes. Whether there was overt Nazi networking between Carl Jung, Olga Froabe Kapteyn, and the Bollingen Foundation or not, it is a fact that they all came from a common well, Nazism, as well as Jonestown, dramatically illustrates the final solution offered by occultism! Exclamation mark. That's the end of chapter 2.